Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Monday, a new work week, a new everything, new week in general. As always, I like to start off this video, giving my thoughts and prayers to the essentials out there, the ones that work in hospitals, nurses, doctors, anybody, scientists, just everybody that has to work out there and kind of has to be at the front of the lines to, go on about this. And we already have our first comment. Julian, hey brother, how you doing? Um, as I was saying, the ones that are in front of the lines that are have to work during this weird time right now. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask, wear gloves, hand sanitizers, as always. Wash your hands before every meal and after every meal. Always wear your gloves. Always wear a mask. Hand sanitizer. Have that handy with you, and as well, just be safe about it. Cough if you're gonna cough, cough on your elbow, and then just hand sanitizer, guys. It's a miracle worker, man. I tell you. And the ones that are quarantined at home right now, hopefully everybody's being smart about it. Everybody's being safe, but most importantly, hopefully you guys are taking care of your body. Taking care of your mind. Just trying to stay. Trying to enjoy your time with your loved ones. And if you're quarantined by yourself, just have an activity with you, whether it's reading a book and doing stuff. Don't get caught up in the news that much, because it's just not a good time to be watching the news right now. So just try to find another hobby, so that way you keep your mind off distractions and everything. But I do want to start off by having two shout outs in this video today. Well, it's not much of a shout out, it's more of a condolences. The first one, Carl Anthony Towns. For the people that don't know, he's a basketball player. He plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and his mother just passed away this morning due to COVID-19, the coronavirus. And all I can say is, I'm praying for him, his family right now at their time of need. I can't imagine what that feeling must be like. So, hopefully, my condolences to them and my thoughts and prayers to them. And also, I do want to give out condolences and my thoughts and prayers to the Jackson family. We also found out this morning, Tavares Jackson, a former NFL quarterback, passed away in a car crash this morning in his hometown. That's it's a sad way to go. That's why life is precious, man. You got to enjoy every minute of it. But I do want to give my thoughts and prayers to the Jackson family, and you know, and Tavares Jackson. Rest in peace. And that's about it. Just enjoy life, and life's too short. You got to enjoy every minute. Life is precious, and rest in peace to Tavares Jackson and Carl Anthony Towns' mother. My thoughts and prayers go out to both of them. So let's transition now to the 26th pick. Miami is on the clock, but the topic today is the Houston Texans, who finished the season 10-6 and were the AFC South champions. But before we get more into their season, we have to go back to a year ago, their draft class. In their first round, they took Titus Howard, an offensive tackle out of Alabama State. He was more of a project. Was he going to be a tackle? Was he going to be a guard? But he's part of that solidified new offensive line group that Houston's trying to build for Deshaun Watson. It wasn't just that long ago. Deshaun Watson was the most sacked man in the NFL. He still got pretty roughed up last year, but that offensive line is getting better and better by the year. So now with Tunsil at the left and Howard at the right, that's a good group to have right there. So they're little by little, it's going to get better for Houston. Lonnie Johnson in the second round, corner out of Kentucky. He had a lot of first round grades. I think the problem was his height kind of made him slip a little bit, but time is yet to be seen with him. He's in a crowded defensive back group with Bradley Roby, Vernon Hargrave, and Garyon Conley. So he's really the third, fourth man in that group. So I mean, only time will tell to see where he ends up down the road. With their other second round pick, Max Sharping, offensive tackle out of Northern Illinois. Again, depth at this point, but that's always good because Houston needs all the help they can get on the offensive line, especially if their quarterback keeps getting tossed around like that. I mean, he's young right now and he can probably handle the hits. I'm just pretty sure he does. He would like fewer hits heading into next year. Third round, they took a tight end out of San Diego State, Kahel Waring. Not much to it. It's just he was one of the better blocking tight ends, but that was pretty much about it for him. And we'll see what happens now with the emergence of that tight end group as well. They didn't have a fourth rounder, but they did select in the fifth Charles Aminhu, the defensive end out of Texas. He was another one of those situations with Chris Boyd. He did have a high prospect grade on him, but after the Senior Bowl and the Combine, he started to dip a little bit, and unfortunately, it landed him in the fifth round. But I think with the Texans, I think it's a good fit for them right now. More depth at that line because they're only one J.J. Watt injury away to find another defensive end. So I mean, that was a good pickup by Texans at fifth round. Um, excuse me. In the sixth round, they drafted a cornerback out of Central Michigan, Xavier Crawford. Special teams guy, like I said, he's more of a special teamer, especially with that crowded defensive back room at corner. It's very rare he does get some playing time, but it is what it is. So in the seventh round, they drafted a fullback, Colin Gillespie, the fullback out of Texas A&M. He's there just to be another lineman for Deshaun and open holes for the running back. I mean, what can I say? That's just they need more protection for Deshaun. That's about it. But as I said before, they finished the year 10-6. They were the AFC South champs. They did lose that home opener to the Saints on the Monday Night Football, or well, they were the away team, but the Week 1 Monday Night opener, they lost the Saints by a field goal by Will Lutz, and they recovered. They would lose. They lost that one, then they would win two, then they would lose. That's just how their season was. It was win two, lose one, win two, lose one. So, however, they did have big wins over the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. They did beat the Patriots, and they split with the Tennessee Titans, who didn't make it to the AFC Championship game. So overall, they had a good year. They had a good year. They finished 10-6, AFC South champs. They played Buffalo in that crazy overtime wild card game. They won that one by the skin of their teeth. Oh, really? And then they go to Arrowhead for the divisional round. They were up 24 points at one point. At one point, they were up 24-0, and they blow it. They ended up losing 51-31 because, for whatever reason, they just couldn't hold the lead. It was a shame, really, because to win at Arrowhead, at that time of year, it's hard. So for them to blow a 24-point lead is something very, very historic, and I'm sure the Texans didn't want to be on the wrong end of that, but that's how their season ended. They blew a 24-point lead. I think the turning point for me at that point was there was a part of the game early in the game. It was a 4th-and-1, 4th-and-2 situation. Me personally, I think they should have just gone for it. You're already up 24. Why punt it? Because at that point, the best thing for Kansas City heading into that year was their offense, that their offense can score at any minute or any second, really. So I think they should have just gone for it. Had they converted, they would have wasted more time. And, that's the thing about a great offense. That's how you neutralize a great offense. You give them no time on the clock. But they decided to punt it. And when they did go for it, Kansas City was already catching up on a 4th down that the rails just went off. The train just went off the rails, and that was it. That was it for Houston. And again, another great year, but just a disappointing, way to end it. And that's just been the Texans MO for the last few seasons now. So here they go, heading into free agency, and all I can say after, now being 10 days away from the draft, Bill O'Brien, the head coach of the Texans, good head coach. He's a really good head coach. multiple division titles, winning seasons, really good head coach. Bill O'Brien, the general manager, he's uh he's a head case, man. He is a head case. I couldn't believe, the stuff he did and the trades that he did, but we'll get into the trade here in a bit. So to start off, they re-signed Roderick Johnson, another offensive line depth. They re-signed Vernon Hargraves after releasing him, but they got him back on a cheaper deal, so he's back. Randall Cobb, who's the ultimate wide receiver from the Cowboys, is now heading into the Texans uniform. They did re-sign AJ McCarron. Eric Murray, the safety of the Browns, is now heading to Houston. They did re-sign Bradley Roby, who was their best corner, even though he missed 6 games, which is, that's a scary thought to think that your best corner missed 6 games. So he really, that's kind of a scary thought. But they also brought in Philip Gaines. They re-signed him back. DeAndre Carter, he's back. Darren Fells, the tight end, who kind of caught a little bit of a hot streak at the end for, especially for fantasy, football. He did caught a little bit of fire. They re-signed him. Kamei Fairbarn, the kicker, they re-signed him. Jalen Watkins from the Chargers, the safety, he's now heading to Houston. Tyrell Adams, they re-signed him. John Weeks, the long snapper, they re-signed him. And Brent Quavell, offensive tackle, the Jets, they got him out of free agency. Now, the Texans did 2 of what I believe was the biggest trades in all of free agency. I think even more bigger than the Stephon Diggs trade and the Darius Slay trade. Let's start off with the easier one. The Rams traded Brandon Cooks to the Texans. The Rams are going to get a second-round pick this year, which is significant because the Rams are a team that has no draft capital and no cap space to do anything. So for them to get a second-rounder was a steal. I found it hard to believe that you're going to give up a second-rounder, and you'll see why. What I mean by that when the next topic comes up. So the Texans get Brandon Cooks and a 4th-round pick, not this year, not the following year, 2022. That pick does not happen until 2022. Usually you would say fire, the general manager is off his rocker. Unfortunately, they're one and the same. It's Bill O'Brien, the head coach, good, thinking straight. Bill O'Brien, the GM, have no idea what he's doing. Maybe he's trying to prove something to us. I'm not really sure. Bill O'Brien's just, doing stuff that just from the outside looking in, it doesn't make any sense. And I know that, he's already did the interview where he doesn't give a crap, about what we think, but it's just, if this goes bad, it's all on him. And I don't know what the owner's thinking, letting Bill O'Brien have all power to it. So that was the first trade that they did. The second one was the biggest one that kind of, shook free agency to a core. The Houston Texans decided to trade away DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona. Now, the Texans are going to get David Johnson, a second-round pick this year, and a 2021 4th-round pick this year. So, okay, that's pretty good. Well, I'm sorry, they did have the second-round pick. They gave it away, but that's more later. Arizona gets DeAndre Hopkins, and if you think that wasn't enough, they get a 4th-rounder this year. You would think DeAndre Hopkins would be enough. It wasn't. They had to get a 4th-rounder in there just to seal the deal. Now, what I've heard from multiple, sports shows and everything, the day after this happened, Michael Irvin went on to Get Up on ESPN the next day. He talked to DeAndre, or so we believe he talked to DeAndre, and DeAndre said that there was a point where after the game, he wouldn't let Bill O'Brien let his family, his, baby mama and his kids around the team. This was after the game. Like I said, I don't know if it's true or not. And then DeAndre disputes the fact. He says, "No, I never said anything like that. I'm happy to be in Arizona." And Bill O'Brien said that, it's better to, there was something up there that it didn't make sense, and he thought financially it wasn't going to make sense to pay him, and that he was going to come at a price, where it was we can get two receivers. Well, you got them, and their names are now Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, which is not a bad wide receiver. The only problem is with their history of injuries, they are all those three wide receivers are one pillow fight away from landing on injured reserves. Randall Cobbs with his knees, Brandon Cooks with concussions, and Will Fuller with his ACLs. They are literally one pillow fight away for being on the bench for a year. I don't know what the thinking was, because when you add up Brandon Cooks' contract and you add up Randall Cobb's contract, they are actually making $3 million more than what DeAndre Hopkins is making. So money is not the issue. We don't know what the issue is. Maybe it's just they ran their course, they couldn't get along anymore, so it was just time to split ways. It happens. It happens. And, it's life, and sometimes, you got to get a fresh start somewhere, change the scenery somewhere. But for me, I just call BS on Bill O'Brien saying, we just couldn't afford them, when clearly Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks are going to make a little bit more combined than DeAndre is on Arizona all next year. So I don't know. You got your running back in David Johnson, who made his money because he had a one great game against Cleveland, and after then he's just been on the downward spiral to, kind of, again, another injury away from, being benched for the rest of the year. So I don't know what the thinking is for Bill O'Brien. It's kind of for me, it's just weird. We don't know who to believe, whether Michael Irvin was right, whether DeAndre just doesn't want to talk about it, or Bill O'Brien being, I don't know what it is. Maybe Bill O'Brien just has too much power and he's controlling the team. And you would have to think that they would have gotten more for DeAndre. I mean, if Stephon Diggs is worth a first rounder, you're telling me DeAndre's worth a fourth? Like, so that general manager in Buffalo, or, he's got to be, he either tried and he failed, or he just, needed another wide receiver to go up with this wide receiving core. We don't know the extent. I mean, there was reports that Philly tried. If all I'm saying is, I'm surprised not a lot more reports are coming out saying, a lot of teams tried, because if all it took was a fourth round pick to get DeAndre Hopkins, I'm pretty sure all of the 31 teams would have lined up for that deal. I don't understand it. I think it's unfair due to the fact that now, you had a second round pick, but then you gave it away to the Rams. This is a draft class where the wide receiver class is so deep, you probably could have gotten one in the second round, but you decided to give it away to a guy who, again, has concussion injuries, shoulder injuries. I don't know. I just, from the outside looking in as a fan, it doesn't make sense to me. Bill O'Brien knows what's going on behind those closed doors. If I could meet him, I would just like to say, like, why this? Like, what was the breaking point? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is regarded as one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL, and you give him away for a fourth rounder. That's a joke. So, and then a couple days later, he came out saying, I think something along the lines, like great receivers or something like that is hard to find. You had one. It's like what John Gruden said a couple of years ago is, pass rushers are hard to find. Well, you had one, but you traded him away. You had Khalil Mack, but you traded him away. And we do have a comment here, John. Bro, Hopkins is a diva. You know what? This is the ultimate thing I've never understood. Here we go. Right now, no, you're the best tuber. So for the comment that Julian put, he put, bro, right now, you're the best YouTuber in the game. So there was which is kind of ironic now. A couple seasons ago, the Texans played Arizona, and the Arizona's wide receiver coach came up to DeAndre and he told him, "I just want to tell you something. Right now, you're the best in the game." And DeAndre Hopkins' response was, "I know." And it was just an awkward silence after that. Um, it's a good laugh, to laugh at it now, but to go back to his previous comment, Bro Hopkins is a diva. This is sort of the thing. There's only been one wide receiver where I can truly say that he was a team guy first that I've seen in my whole, time. Well, let's be fair, maybe three at the most I've seen. It was Larry Fitzgerald, the ultimate team guy first. Tim Brown, he always was loyal to the Raiders, even at the end when, there was nothing going for him at the end. He was still loyal to them. And thirdly, which is kind of going to be a shocker to a bunch of people, was Chris Carter. He was a team guy first. It did kind of messy when Randy Moss did come in because I think Chris Carter knew that his time in Minnesota was coming to an end. But he was still a team guy first. But I don't know the conception of wide receivers being divas, and they kind of are. They kind of are in a sense. I mean, there was a lot of receivers that were divas. Terrell Owens, he was a diva. Antonio Brown, diva. Jerry Rice even went through a little diva stage in the latter parts of his 49er career. But, it's just, you look at the list of the all time great wide receivers, I guarantee you at least 50% to 60 would be considered divas. I mean, it's just what it is. It comes with the territory. However, I would rather have that type of, player that I know is the best in the game and deal with his attitude than have another, Joe Schmo at wide receiver who's like a dime a dozen. We've seen it plenty of times. It's just, yeah, there's some good ones that don't have the attitude. It's just sometimes, you just need that thing. I mean, I forget who I had this conversation with, and, they said, I will never have a diva as my wide receiver. It's like, okay, so you're telling me if we do a mock draft right now and you're telling me that Terrell Owens is on the board or Darius Hayward Bay is on the board, you're going to go with Darius Hayward Bay because he has high character, but pass up on Terrell Owens. Nah, I'll take Terrell Owens. I'll take the diva. I mean, he's going to win me games. I got me a go-to guy. I just have to control his attitude. And I could find somebody down the road that's not a diva, and I'll replace him just like that. But let me get the most out of him right now. That's all I'm saying. It's just weird. It's just weird the conception that fans out there like they don't want divas for wide receivers. That may be true, but sometimes if you want the best, you're gonna have to deal with that attitude, and some teams can handle it. Nah, but it sucks. I can't read that comment. There's a little bad word in there, but what he's saying, what my brother's complaining is that he couldn't do it, and I'm just saying I know you're. I would rather take, if you're telling me if high character is a thing, then go get yourself, a Darius Hayward Bay, a bunch of players. I mean, that had high character wide receiver, but never amounted to anything. And I'll take the divas over here, the Terrell Owens, the Jerry Rices, the Randy Mosses. I'll take all those guys in a heartbeat. But, to each their own. To each their own. But like I said, Bill O'Brien, the general manager, not a good, kind of a wacko. Bill O'Brien, the head coach, he's a winning coach. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We're all intrigued by it, but hopefully this doesn't hurt Deshaun Watson's, you know, his thing. But I mean, we're gonna finally see how good Deshaun Watson is without a top dude, and if he can win without a top dude, then there's no excuse next year for Houston to not pay the man. So this is going to be an exciting season for Houston. So hopefully Bill O'Brien has some schemes up his mind in his playbook to hopefully help him win a couple games, because it's going to be a lot harder now that DeAndre's not there. So with all that being said, as I mentioned before, Miami was on the clock, and it is now time to predict what I think Miami is going to do with the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft? Ah, man, to think only 10 days away, guys. 10 days away, and it's go time. Everything's going to be right in front of us. So 10 days for the draft. I can't wait. So here we go, guys, with the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins select DeAndre Swift, running back, Georgia. This guy is incredible. That's the best way I can put it. He's pretty darn good at what he does. He is not the tallest dude, but he plays like he's 6'2". But he's actually 5'8", 212 pounds, 30-inch arm length, 9-inch hand size. He ran a 4.40 40, 35.5-inch vertical, a 10 feet broad jump. This guy can do it all. He can pass block, he can catch the ball, and he can run the ball. What I think it is for Miami, they would like to go defense here, but because they do have an early second, I think they can address that in the second round. In the first, you just have to reset everything offensively. Fitzpatrick's back, Josh Rosen's back. However, with Justin Herbert there, that's a no-brainer. So you got to give him some weapons. However, 18th pick, you traded away Laramie Tunsil. You got to replace him. And at 18, I had him Josh Jones. The running back group consists of Jordan Howard and Kayleen Ballage. DeAndre Swift will be the number one guy right away. I know Jordan Howard's a good running back. It's just, I don't know what happened to him. His first 2 years were great, and now he's just been everywhere. He's been everywhere. This is his third team in 3 years. So if you're going to take some pressure off, the rookie, get DeAndre Swift. That's the best way I could put it is, he can do it all. He's the best running back in this draft class. That's all I can say about it. He's just one of the best. He played in the conference where, it's all about the defense, but he still did his thing. He's won some awards. He was, first time All-SEC in 2018 and 19. He was a finalist for best running back in the country twice. He's an SEC champion. Every year it seemed like he was going to do his thing. So that's the best I can put it is, DeAndre Swift for Miami. I can't see it any other way. You get your trifecta in offense. You get your quarterback of your future. You get your offensive lineman to replace Jeremy Tunsil, and you get your new 3-down running back. So what more can you want from Miami? If Miami had this draft, I think Miami, would be jumping up and down with joy with all the picks that have been made for them so far in this mock draft. So DeAndre Swift at 26, I think that would be the best way to go for Miami. So, but we'll see. Like I said, 10 days away. So hopefully everybody's getting excited. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Do we have anything today? No questions today? All right. I want to thank my brother for commenting today. That was awesome of him. And tomorrow, the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. This is going to be an interesting one because I'm still trying to decide, which way they're going to sway to. Jadeveon Clowney is supposed to come back, supposedly. No deal has been agreed upon, but it looks like he's coming back to Seattle. We just don't know when. And, Seattle had a good year last year. They were competing against the 49ers. And it's just, it is what it is. But we'll get more on them tomorrow. Miami, DeAndre Swift, the first running back and possibly the only running back going in the first round this year. So I think Miami should be excited if the draft played out this way. So everybody have a wonderful night. We will see you tomorrow for the Seahawks.